Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome back to the old computer shack. I have a veritable cornucopia of H8 loot to share with you this evening. And parts. Some parts are out, still no paint, of course. But some parts have arrived, and we can do a few things. So all of you absolute chads that have helped me locate bits for this thing, you are all gentlemen and scholars. I appreciate all of your assistance. I've thanked you all profusely on the Heathkit 8-bit mailing list, so I won't do it again here, but you know who you are, and you are all awesome. So, this didn't all come today. Most of it did, but not all of it. So here is the lovely replacement lens for the front of the front panel of the H8, and it's supposed to have some little clips here on the sides, but they're broken off of this one. But that's fine. Let me grab the front panel, and I'll show you what I am thinking. So the lens is supposed to go in this space right here, like that. I guess I'll just tape it on there and then glue it from the back, which seems a little cheesy and might make it difficult to take out in the future, but I've thought about trying to like manufacture new clips and like 3D print them and then like glue them onto the lens and like totally fix it, you know, but I don't know. That if I start messing with it, I'll probably just break it. I think it'll be fine. I'll just line it up just right and just put a couple dots of glue in the corners to hold it on there, and it'll be rad. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be amazing. Look at that. That's gonna be so amazing. Can you feel the amazingness of this through the internet, gentlemen? It's going to be wonderful. Here we have an unfinished H17 hard sector floppy controller, and you may be asking yourself, why in the hell would you have any use for a hard sector floppy controller, especially a 10 sector hard sector floppy controller, because you cannot find that media. You haven't been able to find that media for years. Well, there's a dude whose name I can't remember off the top of my head because I'm an asshole, that makes a thing that plugs in between a hard sector controller and the disk drive that generates the sector pulses for you, so you can use like soft sector media in the drives. And that's what I'm going to do with this, assuming I can get it finished and working, because the actual soft sector controller, which we have here, I'll talk about that in a second, it requires a Z80, and I only have the 8080 CPU card, but this one will work with the 8080 CPU card, so I'm going to use it with the virtual sector generator until I can design and build a Z180 card for the thing. So I'll have to finish this. It looks like all the passives are already on here. I might just have to plug in ICs. It included a bunch of stuff. It didn't include these. These are soft sector controllers for the other board. But it's not finished, and there are some parts missing. Notably, the actual 40-pin, what I assume is the floppy controller, is missing. I'm gonna just have to order one of those off of eBay, I guess. And then we've got some other chips in here and stuff. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go through these and find out what's what. One thing to note though is these are both ROMs in these envelopes, and there are 3 more ROMs sitting out here, and there's only one ROM socket on this board, so, and they all have different part numbers, so that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what all of these different ROMs are. And, then there are just a bunch of Mr. Beefy, behave yourself. Then there, I assume these are just all 74 series logic. No, these are 2114 static RAMs is what these are, I think. This is that's LS series logic. That's LS series logic. A little bit of static RAM. I think those are 4K by 1 maybe, or maybe they're 4 bits by 1K. I can't remember. Yeah, anyway, so that's what came in. That's the rest of the parts for that thing that I'll have to find. Now this, I'll have to find that controller chip though. I don't know. I'll look here in a little bit. Now this thing is an Org-0 card. It has a latch on it that allows you to use an I/O port to disable the ROMs, so you can run CP/M. The ROMs map themselves into the first 8K, 4K, something like that. I can't remember at boot. And so you can't boot CP/M on the H8 without one of these cards that asserts that line on the bus that disables the ROMs. I don't know why they didn't build that latch into the CPU card, but they didn't, so whatever. And it's also got a dip switch block that you can read, the CPU can read through an I/O port, and that's used for like boot time configuration, so you can auto boot instead of having to punch in stuff on the front panel. But as you can see, we had some tantalum madness here. It kind of went nuclear like my ex used to. So we'll have to do something about that. I don't think it actually damaged anything. I don't know, maybe it took out the voltage regulator, but that's probably just a 5-volt regulator. I've probably got one I can put right back in there and fix it, so even if the regulator is bad. So yeah, so that's cool. It's all 7400 series logic, nothing special there. Very simple card, interesting. I like how all of the old cards for this thing are just kind of like simple, you know what I'm saying? It's like straight up 7400 series logic. Everything's kind of spread out, the traces are far apart, it's easy to see what's going on. Even this 8080 CPU card, you know, there's not much to it. There's not much to it at all, just a CPU and a ROM and a CPU support chip that generates the M1 signal and does some decoding, I think, onto the bus, and the rest of it's just straight up 7400 series logic. Nothing to it. Pretty cool. Maybe I'll see if I can test some of these. They're probably fine. What could go wrong? It'll be fine. I tested all these ICs. At least the ones that I could test. Haven't messed with the ROMs or whatever that little 8-pin package is, or the RAMs yet. And there were a couple of bad ones that I had to throw away. And it wasn't just corrosion on the pins either. I sanded all the pins a little bit and still couldn't get them to work. So yeah, glad I didn't put those in the disk controller, I guess. And then here's the Org-0 card. As you can see, it cleaned up pretty good. I replaced that blown tantalum capacitor with a Nichicon electrolytic, and went ahead and replaced the other one while I was at it, because, you know, it's only a matter of time. Haven't tested the voltage regulator yet. I'm going to hook it up to my bench supply here in a second, make sure that still works. But there were a couple of bad chips on here. There was an LS240 that was bad and an LS04 that was bad. So maybe they got taken out when that tantalum capacitor was shorted or something before it blew up. I don't know. So I'm hoping the regulator hasn't blown up in the process, but I guess we're going to find out. And looking at it under the magnifying glass, there were a couple of pretty obvious cold solder joints on some of these IC sockets, and I didn't feel like some of the stuff had enough solder when it was assembled, you know. It wasn't penetrating the board well and everything, so I went ahead and nuked the site from orbit and reflowed everything and freshened things up, because it's the only way to be sure, I guess. So hopefully that's got the Org-0 card taken care of now, and once we get the H8 back together, it will just magically work. Regulator input, we got 9 volts. which is what's going to be feeding this thing off of the bus. Regulator output, we got nothing. Nothing at all. Believe the regulator's fried, boys. That's a shame. I probably got one that'll work. I'll be back in a second. In spite of Heath's insistence on using funny part numbers for everything, that is just a regular old 7805 regulator, and replacing it seems to have cured the non-working regulator problem. Happy day. Alright. With that done, the Org Zero card is ready to rumble. I've been trying to shill it a little bit more, but I have a really crappy Discord server that is totally toxic. It's absolutely full of crazy shit that is super offensive because it's like the island of misfit toys or something, right? But you should join it anyway, because like the Wild West, once regular people are there who will actually talk about old computers occasionally, it'll get all civilized and shit. So if you look down below, there's a link to a page on my shitty web server that's got links to all that crap. So if you're interested, come and join us. I promise it'll only get weird when it gets weird. Alright, have a lovely evening. Bye.